When emotions take over, even the biggest NBA stars can lose control.
Oh, hard foul! A flagrant foul. He might be thrown out for that.
He should be thrown out for that.
And that's when things turn dangerous.
They're having wars. Look at this. Nose to nose. Eye to eye.
Big time brawl now in the front row.
NBA games are intense, but sometimes that intensity explodes into chaos.
Robinson throwing a punch. Smith coming right back at him. And this has turned ugly.
Turning competition into moments fans will never forget. Malice at the Palace. And this is where everything changed. Not just a game, but the entire league. It starts like any heated NBA night. The Indiana Pacers and Detroit Pistons already don't like each other. Playoff history, physical games, bad blood, it's all there, sitting just under the surface. Now fast forward, late in the fourth quarter, the Pacers are up big. The game's basically over, but no one's really playing like it's over. Then it happens. Ron Artest comes in hard on Ben Wallace during a layup. Not a normal foul, this one had extra force behind it. Wallace instantly snaps. He turns and shoves Artest hard, right in the face. Suddenly, players rush in, jerseys get grabbed, voices get louder. For a few seconds, it looks like a typical NBA scuffle. And then it slows down. Artest walks away, climbs onto the scorer's table, just lies there, staring at the ceiling like he's trying to cool off. The crowd is loud, angry, restless, but it feels like it might actually end there. But wait, this is where it gets worse. A fan throws a drink, it hits Artest square in the chest. And just like that, everything flips. Artest jumps up and charges straight into the stands. No hesitation, no second thought. He grabs a fan, the wrong guy, and starts swinging. Teammates follow. Fans start throwing punches, drinks, anything they can grab. Now it's not a basketball game anymore, it's chaos. Fights spill everywhere, on the court, in the crowd. People are screaming, running, throwing things. Players are trying to fight their way out. Some are just trying to survive the moment. Have you ever seen something like this before? Because the game never even finishes. Officials call it with under a minute left. Police have to step in just to restore order. And that's when it truly crosses the line. Players versus fans. That barrier gone. The aftermath is brutal. 9 players were suspended. 146 total games lost. Millions in salary gone. Some players and fans even face charges. And the NBA? It's forced to change forever. Security tightens, rules change, because after this night, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a fight. This was the moment the line disappeared. Knicks versus Nuggets brawl, 2006. And just when you think the NBA learned its lesson, this happens again. Madison Square Garden, bright lights, big stage, but the game already out of reach. The Denver Nuggets are blowing out the Knicks, up nearly 20 with barely a minute left. And that's where frustration starts boiling. You could feel it. The Knicks don't like being embarrassed at home. Then it snaps. A hard foul by a Knicks player, wrapping J.R. Smith around the neck midair and slamming him down. Not just physical, dangerous. Players rush in instantly. No hesitation. Shoves turn into punches, bodies collide, the whole court turns into chaos. And then, this part shocked everyone. Carmelo Anthony steps in, throws a clean punch, then immediately backs away, almost retreating from the scene. That moment, it sticks, because this wasn't just emotion anymore, it felt calculated. Have you ever seen a star player do that and just walk away? That's when it crosses the line. A cheap shot foul turns into a full team brawl. All 10 players on the court get ejected. Suspensions hit hard. 47 total games lost. MSG, one of basketball's biggest stages, turns into pure chaos. And just like that, frustration becomes something much uglier. If you're loving these wild NBA moments, hit like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments which fight shocked you the most. Kermit Washington punch incident, 1977. But this next moment, this isn't just shocking, it's terrifying. The game is already tense, Lakers versus Rockets. Players are shoving, arguing, nothing too unusual for that era. Then suddenly, a fight breaks out between a few players. And here's where everything changes. Rudy Tomjanovich sees it and runs in, trying to break it up. Not to fight, just to help. But in a split second, Kermit Washington turns and throws a punch. Full force, no warning. It lands clean. Tomjanovich drops instantly. At first, people don't even realize how bad it is. It just looks like another fight, another hit. But then, the silence hits. Players start backing away. Faces change. Something is very, very wrong. Because this wasn't a normal punch. It fractured his skull, broke his face, spinal fluid leakage. He was moments away from dying. Let that sink in. Have you ever seen a basketball moment go from normal to life-threatening in seconds? That's why this crossed the line in a way few moments ever have. This wasn't basketball anymore. It was real damage, real danger. The league was shaken. The players were stunned. Because after that punch, everyone understood this game could turn deadly. Chris Paul versus Rajon Rondo, 2018. And here's one that shocked even old-school NBA fans. Staples Center, Lakers versus Rockets, a game where emotions were on edge before anything even started. These two teams weren't enemies, but personalities are a real thing in pro sports, and both Chris Paul and Rajon Rondo aren't exactly shrinking violence. They talk, they trash talk, they compete, and that's part of what makes NBA rivalries fun. But late in the fourth, tempers snap. It begins as a verbal argument, nothing too crazy at first, until videos shared by the Rockets suggested that Rondo spit at Paul. Paul immediately confronted him, poking his fingers in Rondo's face in response. It wasn't just words anymore. And the gloves come off. Before anyone could think twice, Rondo and Paul exchange punches. Teammates rush in. Even Lakers forward Brandon Ingram gets tangled up. Everyone gets ejected at the final whistle. Why did it hit a nerve? Because in basketball, spitting is maybe the biggest act of disrespect you can show somebody. Even more than a hard foul or shove. It's personal. It's raw. It crosses a line that most players just don't ever cross. Afterward, the NBA handed down suspensions. More than just a slap on the wrist, because this wasn't just trash talking. It was chaos sparked by total disrespect. Have you ever seen a fight start this fast on a basketball court? Isaiah Stewart versus LeBron James 2021. And then there's this moment. Brutal because it looks almost accidental at first. Detroit Pistons versus Los Angeles Lakers. It's a normal play under the rim. Bodies bump, players jostle for position. It's physical. Then LeBron James comes in, and in the battle for space, he elbows Isaiah Stewart right in the face. Hard. It's enough to open a wound and send blood streaming down Stewart's cheek. Stewart stays calm for a split second, but once that blood hits, something snaps. He explodes. Teammates literally have to hold him back as he tries to charge toward LeBron again and again, like a bull trying to break out of a pen. Coaches, players, staff, everyone gets in the way as Stewart keeps trying to reach the Lakers star. It's almost surreal watching it unfold. Why does this cross any line? Not because of one hit, but because Stewart loses control completely. For a moment, he stops being a professional athlete and just becomes a guy overwhelmed by emotion. Blood, anger, adrenaline, all mixing into one. That's something you expect in street fights, not in a pro arena. Both players were ejected and later suspended for their roles. James for the flagrant contact, Stewart for his repeated attempts to get at him. It wasn't clean, it wasn't pretty, but it was unforgettable. Draymond Green versus Jordan Poole. And now for one of the NBA's most bizarre moments, and it didn't even happen in a game. Golden State Warriors Training Camp 2022. Teammates, not rivals, not competitors, just practice. There's always chatter, jokes, a little trash talk. But that day, things escalated fast. Draymond Green and Jordan Poole were trading words loud enough that everyone on the practice floor could hear it. The tension built like steam in a pressure cooker. Rumors swirled later that part of it was about money, status, and frustration over team roles and contracts. Then, out of nowhere, Green threw a full-force punch at Poole's face. Boom! Right in front of the whole team. Poole dropped. Chairs clattered. Practices don't end like this. Everyone froze. It crossed the line not because it was physical. That happens, but because teammates are supposed to have each other's backs. This wasn't opponents letting off steam, this was internal conflict. Surprising, raw, ugly. Warriors coaches immediately paused practice. Green apologized publicly afterward, saying he'd made a huge mistake. The team fined him and he stepped away for a few days as players and staff processed what happened. Have you ever seen a team's chemistry get this tested before the season even starts? Let's zoom out and hit some classic moments in NBA chaos history. Shorter, but just as wild. Bulls versus Pistons, Jordan Rules era. Long before cameras dominated every play, there was one of the most physical stretches in NBA history. In the late 80s and early 90s, the Detroit Pistons, the Bad Boys, developed the infamous Jordan Rules, a strategy designed to stop Michael Jordan by playing him tough, physical, sometimes dirty defense. They didn't just guard him, they knocked him around, trapped him, shoved him, and tested the league's limits of physical play. It wasn't a single fight, but months and playoff after playoff of violence disguised as strategy. 90s Knicks versus Heat fights. The late 90s NBA had rivalry written all over it, and none more so than the battles between the New York Knicks and Miami Heat. In multiple playoff series, these teams didn't just play, they brawled. Trash talk, hard fouls, bench clearing skirmishes, and ejections were part of the story. Every possession felt like a war, and sometimes it became one. Gobert chokehold incident 2023. Chaos doesn't only happen in dramatic brawls, sometimes it's sudden and surreal. In a game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, Draymond Green grabbed teammate turned neutral party Rudy Gobert in a full headlock chokehold early in the contest. Referees ejected him instantly. It wasn't a calculated fight, it was a startling moment of excessive physicality in the blink of an eye. Timberwolves versus Pistons mass ejection. More recently, a showdown between the Pistons and Timberwolves spiraled into a full-on court melee. Hard fouls, retaliations, and bench involvement led to 7 ejections, including players and coaches. Fans were shocked seeing not just players, but even staff caught up in the chaos. It served as a stark reminder: the NBA can still lose control in a heartbeat. The NBA is built on passion, but when that passion turns into anger, the line disappears fast. These moments remind us that even at the highest level, emotions can take over. So, where should the line be drawn when the games get this intense?